I really did turn it off. Well, thanks so much, Jeff and Jim, for having me on the show today. I really appreciate that we get a chance to have a conversation. It definitely chose me. So my background originally and what I was working on when I first came here was I have a background in just master data management, content management experience, and I was working on something around digital asset management because that was kind of in my wheelhouse. And I got an opportunity to, while all of these privacy initiatives were coming out, GDPR, CCPA, those had some tie-ins to what we were doing with our digital asset management program. And so I got kind of looped into those, working with legal teams, and ultimately I was approached and asked if I would work on just a really small proof of concept that was kind of stuck, and it wasn't really in my space, but it's like, yeah, I can, work on that. And it was for our cybersecurity organization. So I, just kind of picked it up, ran with it, asked a bunch of questions, and got that back on track. And while I was doing that, an opportunity came open in the IAM space, and I got approached actually by a couple of people who asked me if that was something I'd be interested in doing. And I said, well, I know how to log in. Like what, 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 what else do you need? So I ended up just, looking into the opportunity. It seemed like something really exciting. It was a space that I'd really never been in, cybersecurity. It sounds really scary and intimidating. And I thought, I'm up for a new challenge. So that's kind of how I landed in cybersecurity. And my first role was kind of owning all of the authentication services. And at the time, it spanned employee, franchisee, crew, and consumer. So we had, I don't know how many. Can't actually reveal the actual number, but it was lots, lots of identities there to manage. And that's what I came in to do, is really manage that service and just make sure that everyone always had access to our app, to their internal tools that you can come in and get to work. So that was kind of trial by fire in the identity and access management space. Well, it's those TPS reports. Somebody's got to get those done. There's a new cover sheet. Um, right, right. So what my team does is we take any of the security services that need to go from our global organization into our markets. We take those services and we deploy them. So if you look at, take authentication services for example, so you'll have that service running, and and what we do is we basically onboard markets to the different tools and technologies that they need to protect the data and assets. So it could be anything from the authentication and identity services to SSL certs to network security. So really anything that they need from a cybersecurity standpoint that we offer as a service my team basically implements that or pushes it out to our partners in the markets. Yeah, sure. So one of the challenges that I had kind of coming into the space, and I think this will be familiar with people, is that you end up sometimes inheriting technical debt, and so somebody at some point has to address it. and and I got to be that lucky person to address the tech debt. And we had an opportunity to not just really, because anybody can kind of come in and go, okay, let's just upgrade to the next version, and just keep going that way. And what I really wanted to do was say, well, how do we make this more effective, more resilient, more scalable for the company, so we're not doing this every year trying to figure out how we change things to meet the business needs. So one of the components of this, and it was a identity sync, is really what this tool that I had did. And one of the challenges that came to us from our functional business partners was that that process was just taking too long. And so, along with resolving the tech debt in terms of just the coming on to the latest version of software, we also had an opportunity to take time out of the onboarding process. And when I talk about onboarding, it's really when you create an identity for someone, how long does it take for that identity to be ready for them to use? And in the initial kind of iteration that we had, that particular tool was running everything in batches, and the batches are, and if you can just imagine, this company is pretty pretty huge. Those batches are, they take a long time to run, and so we'd schedule these batches with these huge time scales so they wouldn't bump into each other, while they're running. And just what that means for the business is the longer you take to kind of create an identity, the longer it takes before someone can actually use it, which means you're delaying, potentially training or onboarding them, and we just really needed to get time taken out of that system. So that was one of the areas where we thought, hey, we're going to resolve this tech debt, and we're going to be able to refactor this so we can also take time out of the system. So, it's like a bonus if we can, you know. Yeah, so ultimately, when I look at the customer base of that particular tool, it could be anybody from someone sitting in a corporate function to our restaurants out in international markets to our franchisees. So it can go from um, just run the gamut. And at the time of that project, the it didn't handle consumer IDs. So by the time of that project, my scope had been kind of scaled back a little bit, because customers are a whole that's a whole different animal. There. So we're really talking about the internal, the folks that are actually running our business day to day, is what we're looking at. Yeah, I think, and this, this isn't unique to, to McDonald's. I think when you look at just the different types of business models that are out there, any multinational company, um, has these challenges where you're trying to meet legal requirements um, in different countries. You're trying to account for differences in employment laws and all of these things. I think the twist for any company that has any kind of a franchise model is you have to remember that you're working with independent business owners. And so there's a certain amount of things that you can kind of mandate because it's required by the brand. So for example, if you order a uh, Big Mac, that Big Mac is going to be the same in Arizona as the Big Mac that you get in China, right? So there's just certain things from a standardization that you want that same experience to happen, but there's also um, there's just certain components that you cannot dictate because you can't tell people who own their own business how to run that business. You're there to facilitate them being successful at running the franchise that you've sold them. So, you're going to offer a certain amount of standardization, but you can't force fit everything. And so I almost liken it to kind of being a salesman. Like we're essentially selling services to them, and we have to be mindful of what's going to make them choose this way of doing things over something that they come up with themselves or that they go to another company to go after. So there's always that fine line that needs to be managed. And ultimately we're all in it to make sure that everyone's successful, and the brand is strong, and people have a good experience when they come into our restaurants. But there's always certain flavors that you have to be mindful of. So yeah, I think, and anyone who's, and granted, I am not, this is not my realm of expertise. This is me as just a layman, you know, studying business and looking at different things. But if you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a business, you want that business to be successful. And so you can come up with something from scratch, right? Which is, I'm just going to start my own business and, put out a shingle or, stand up a taco truck or whatever it is, right? You can decide to do that yourself, or you can say, okay, I'm going to buy into a process that's already built, that's built on success. And so if you want your business to be successful, you want to make the right choice, right? And I think that that's just, everybody who's doing anything in industry, you want to be the best at, and you want to be the company of choice for your consumers, for your business partners, for just for anything. So I do think that there is a secret to that. There's a competitive advantage, and it's one of the reasons why we're so successful, worldwide. So it's an incredible business. I have no insight whatsoever into menu selection or what's coming. So if there are tacos that happen, it's not because I had any insight into it. We should just stop talking about tacos. Yeah, absolutely. I think that I've been kind of either in IT directly or IT adjacent for almost my entire career. And one of the things that is super common is this expression, I'm from corporate, I'm here to help, right? Or when you have an IT project, it's this other thing, right? It's not part of the business. It's this thing that's off to the side, right? Um, a function unto itself, right? So a lot of times we go into these technology projects with this kind of laser focus. This is a technology program, and therefore I just need to talk to technology people. I just need to focus on the tool and my own process, and it's very insular. And that's certainly one way to approach it, but we're not here to do tech for tech's sake, right? We do tech on behalf of the business. We do tech with the business, with our entire, strategy and success in mind. It's. I think too often we have this kind of view that, especially in cybersecurity, that it's this, just package it up, put walls around it, stick it over here, and we'll call you if something if something happens. But it's really it's integral. Technology powers our business, which I think is pretty, it's pretty common these days that technology is really foundational to a lot of businesses. But I think it's been really important to our success, and we can't forget why we're doing this. So one of the things that's really important for us to do is to make sure that we don't forget why we're doing this and who we're doing it for. So making those visits to our franchisees, talking to the owner operators, meeting with the restaurant and crew. And I had an opportunity, a couple of opportunities, but earlier this year, I went on, not this year, sorry, it was late last year, had the opportunity to go on some visits. So went into Georgia and just visited several of the franchisees and just going to the restaurants and watching what happens, watching the customers come through the door, watching the crew, interact, going behind the counter and seeing the fries getting made and the burgers getting made, and the how they're actually staffing, and all these different things. So actually just being in the business and having the opportunity to interact with the people who really drive what we do. I mean, if you're sitting in cybersecurity, really anywhere at a corporate location, you're just behind a laptop, right? But the real meat of what this business does is out in our restaurants and out talking to our customers. So that is, I think it's something that everybody should do. you know, I think even, I say everyone should take a job in the service industry, whether it's in the food, retail, restaurants. Everyone can benefit from having a job like that, because I think it will make you more of an empathetic person, to just have that experience. But it's really incredible just to see the people who actually make it happen every day. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. There's always room for improvement. And I think that, one of the things that we are, really good at focusing on is the customer experience. The interactions with our apps and the drive-through and coming into the lobby and the kiosk. Like it's very focused. And we also have that same focus for our crew and employees, right? Like they also have experiences, right? And those can be great experiences or really terrible experiences. And I think what's interesting about, for those of us who kind of work in the kind of corporate, sector, if you come into a new job and you start day one, and if they don't have your ID ready, what do? You're just like, I'll just, work on my phone. I'll walk around the building. I'll talk to a couple of folks. I'll go to lunch, do these things. It's not a big deal. But when you're working, particularly in the retail industry, we compete really hard for talent, right? And if someone does not have a good experience, they don't have to, sit around twiddling their thumbs. They want to make money. Those. I think those of us who, if you start day one, you're not on an hourly wage, right? You're going to get paid whether you're twiddling your thumbs or or actively, at your desk. Where if you, have a different approach, you're having a different experience. And so people don't want to stand around waiting for things to happen. They want to be able to start working, start earning, start learning, those types of things. And so that experience, if to me, if I come into a place and they hire me and say I can start in a week, well, that's a week that I'm not earning. So is there someplace else that I can go that can, get me on a lot faster? And those are the choices that people are making for work. So I think when we look at it from that standpoint, how quickly can we um, identify someone, recruit them, get them to apply, interview them, hire them, train them, and get them started? Like that is I think everybody has those challenges in terms of how long does that process take and how do we take time out of that? And it's so important, I think, in the restaurant industry to remember that you're not dealing with days. You may have, it's not days and weeks, that you may have minutes and hours, to make that a good experience. So that's something that we continue to work toward and make the best experience possible for our talent. Absolutely. And it's not just it's not a problem that only the business can solve, and it's not a problem that only technology can solve. And I think that, any company that is still kind of under this mindset of kind of separating IT from the business, right, is going to struggle. because it's a partnership. You have to be able to see the bigger picture. And I think when I talked earlier about tech debt, if you're just looking with and I talk with my hands, so I'm like drawing a box. nobody can nobody can see this. It is keeping the lights on. Um, it's dual purpose. I feel like one of those like air dummies that what are those the you see at the yeah, the wind thing at the car dealership. Yeah, that's what I feel like right now. But if you keep your functions segregated, and just if you're in IT and you're just looking at your tech debt as all I have to do is upgrade this version and that's it. No, you actually have to look at who am I doing this on behalf of and go talk to them. Like identities don't belong to cybersecurity, right? Identities belong to, um, well, they belong to people. That's a kind of probably a different topic, for that's a philosophical discussion, right? But at the end of the day, like the identities drive your business function. So it's a partnership, and you have to be talking and looking. It's bigger than just the tool or the software that you're using. It's how do we enable the business to move faster? How do we enable our partners to be successful? How do we do all of these things? We have to be talking to each other, and we have to be thinking bigger than just the next version of software that's faster. So that's just kind of the way that I look at this, that it's not just identity is really foundational. And so we can't just look at identity as something that belongs to cybersecurity and therefore only cyber can make decisions or or have projects or initiatives or whatever. It's you have to get everybody involved, and know what problem you're solving. Yeah, I think it's a journey that that we're on. I don't know, that you never say like, okay, we're done. Yay. This is completely solved and perfect. But I think what I would say is that um sometimes people feel kind of constricted by their span of control. And if you take an identity program and just look at it like these are the pieces that I can control, and I'm in this box, and I don't know how to get outside the walls, right? I think we create those walls, right? We imagine the walls are there. And what we have to do is begin to think about, okay, it's not just off in the corner. What I have to do is actually reach out. Like I didn't just decide one day I was going to go visit a bunch of operators, right? Like I actually had relationships with the people who have the relationships with the operators, and we went together, right? So I think if you don't have relationships outside of your IAM practice, you need to start creating those. So who, um, not just looking at, well, who supports my tool, or um, who's managing the tool, who's using the tool. Go talk to them. Who's benefiting from what you're putting out there. Go, set up a conversation. um, Try to establish those relationships just outside of your immediate network. Get closer to what your business actually does. Right? So how can you learn more about the business that you're in, the challenges that your business partners have, that your functions have. Talk to people. That's the biggest thing, because if with the project that I had, if you're just solving one piece, you're going to get a partial solution. Right? And that sounds really obvious, but some people don't look at it that way. I think if you have an objective where, if your goal is to solve the tech debt, you can check that box. If your goal is to advance the business and make things better, you can't check the box by yourself. You have to be able to bring other people along with you. I feel very fortunate that, and it's not just at my level, our entire leadership gets this. And so I know that can be challenging if you're in an organization that isn't set up like that. But to me, it starts with those initial conversations. And you can, if you don't have those relationships, start building them, because you're going to hear so much that you didn't know. You're going to learn. You'll learn a lot, just by talking to your end user, talk to your end consumer, and learn where does your work end up at the end of the day, and go talk to those people, because they're the ones who are dealing with what you're putting out at the end of the day. Just ask them, how is this experience for you? What could be better? What kind of challenges are you facing? Yes. Yeah, yeah. I think it's really, you know, if you go at it from a technical standpoint, you're going to get crickets, right? Like you can't go to someone and just start talking to them about cybersecurity identities. What you want to talk to them about is, tell me about your business. How many restaurants do you have? How long have you been in the business? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? And you're able to make connections just by getting to know them, and asking them about their business. So, and you can do this with anybody in a function too. Like it's because I know franchisee model isn't isn't for, not everybody has that there. But let's say you have a finance business partner. Well, go have a coffee chat with them, and just ask them, what do you do for the company? How does this relate to these overall goals? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? And you can eventually kind of come around to the identity piece. I think for us it's pretty straightforward, because you're talking about people. So tell us about your people. What's the best thing about your folks? What things are you celebrating? We had one. I met a restaurant manager who, it was like her third year with the across the company, it was like she had the highest daily sales on a Sunday for like the third year running. She's just like this incredible. I don't know how she does it, but just talking to them about their, you had to get. They're not broken. They're under maintenance. So there's a sanitation cycle that has to run. You want clean ice cream, don't you? So So I think just in talking to her, she's super personable. She's very kind. Um, she's very active in the community. So so some of those she was organizing fundraisers, and she was just really involved in the community, and that's the thing that's just really that is just it's really great to kind of see is that you've got folks who are really tied in to their community, and it's like a hub, so she's just like the hub, and people just orbit around her. She's really incredible. Mm. Yeah. Which and McGriddles. Hands down, hands down. Right, yeah, no. Hash browns are really good. Have you put the hash brown in the McGriddle? Yeah, I love doing this. So one thing, and not to plug plug too many things, but if you go into the McDonald's app, you can customize things. So sometimes what I will do is in our the restaurant here in our headquarters in Chicago features an international menu. So we bring in menu items from different countries around the world. And most recently, so filet fish is my absolute favorite menu item. But this month we have a shrimp burger from Japan, and I love shrimp, and I've been waiting to try this shrimp burger. And so one of the things that I did is I ordered a I ordered this shrimp burger, and there's like a special bun that it comes with, and I ordered the filet of fish bunless. So what I was able to do is make a shrimp filet of fish double decker sandwich. There. So I think there's so many things that you can do if you go in when any item that you're adding, there's a little customize menu, so you can add things, take things away. So I like just playing with that, and seeing what I can come up with. Mm. Okay, so the one thing I haven't had a chance to try this yet, But the one thing, and I would ask, just don't go in at like the absolute busiest time of the restaurant, but go in and see if they will make you an apple pie McFlurry. So it's just McFlurry and then, crumble up the apple pie and mix it in. So that's my, you know, just non-busy time, get to know your crew members, go up to the counter, just be a good human being, be polite, and just see if they'll do it for you. Oh goodness. So I'm gonna have to say that the one that carries the international menu downstairs. So, and that's just the headquarters one. So, and I say that just because the menu, we have an opportunity. If you can't travel the world comes to you. And so I've had an opportunity to try things from Sweden, from Saudi Arabia, from India, from Japan, and it's really incredible, to have. So that's cool for me, just from a menu perspective. The other thing that I'll say is that um, even though we do have a standard menu, there are some localizations that just depending on where you are. So, for example, in Hawaii, um, the restaurants will have spam and rice, there. Or if you go to, I think Germany, some of the restaurants have beer. So it's just it's really interesting just to see how you can have kind of a more localized experience to local tastes. So that's really fun. I think if you're traveling, this might sound really lame, but if you're traveling to an international location, like go to a McDonald's and see what's different about that. Yeah. 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 Like, I love the restaurants in the South because you can get biscuits and gravy, which is so it's, like, so good. Yeah. No. In Vegas. Yeah. Or the other, yeah, no. It has to match. Awesome. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Everyone, that's what I love. I love that everyone has a McDonald's story. It's, it's really neat. That's an icebreaker that I that I use to start conversations sometimes. It's like, tell me about your, what memory do you have, and it's usually like the play place or, having a birthday party or something, but it's really neat that it's a common thread that so many of us have. Mm. Yeah. Mm. No, no. There's no wrong way. It's just, everyone has a choice. Yeah. Fresh batch. Absolutely. It absolutely is. Yeah. No, it's in the West Loop of Chicago. Come on down. Let's do that. Let's make it happen, Jeff.